I believe there are many reasons why cishet marriages are on the decline. And I'm not going to talk about all of them. But one thing I do think that has become very present to most women and men is that marriage is a safety net for men. And it creates essentially a village around him to prop him up. And for women, it is a risk.
Ladies, if a man gives you a ring and proposes marriage to you, it's because he's done playing the field, he's done trying to get all the ladies, he's maybe balding a little bit, he can't get the ladies anymore, so now he has to settle down. And settling down means finding somebody who's available that likes him enough to put up with his shit, and then he makes you feel special with a ring.
I've got a new question for you guys. Why do you think guys no longer want to get married? Here's what I think. I think MGTOW men.
I believe there are many reasons why cishet marriages are on the decline. And I'm not going to talk about all of them. But one thing I do think that has become very present to most women and men is that marriage is a safety net for men. And it creates essentially a village around him to prop him up. And for women, it is a risk. Marriage comes with risk. And the reason I say that, and it's not always the case, there's obviously nuance, but when you get married to a man and tie up your finances with him and have children with him, you take on a level of risk. Because typically, women are the ones who leave the workforce to care for children. Women are the ones whose careers take a back seat to their male counterparts. Women are the ones who are left without financial security when they stay at home with their children. Women incur a risk. They also incur a risk to their mental health, their emotional health, right? When you marry a male partner and he expects you to prop him up and to support him, to carry the mental load, to do all the domestic labor, to prioritize his career, to bear children for him, then you are viewed as a tool to his success. And in like historical cishet relationships, it didn't flow both ways. I think there's tons of marriages where it does, and that's, mine is one of them. But it's not common for everybody to have that type of dynamic. To have a partnership that truly does flow both ways, where you both have financial security, where you both have emotional security, where you both have ample opportunity and support to achieve what it is you want to achieve. So there's tons of data around the fact that men who are married live longer and women who are married live shorter lives, and women who are single live longer lives. Women who are single tend to be happier, right? There are these statistics, and men who are single are less happy. And there's also statistics around men following a divorce or the death of a partner getting married very quickly, whereas women will stay single for longer. Because marriage, traditional marriage, was built around men and creating success and happiness for them, but it was not centered around women. And so they are less happy in traditional marriages. And so that is why I talk so much about finding equity in a relationship. That is why I advocate for women to always have some sort of social safety nets around them, because marriage does come with risk. And that might sound negative, but I believe in the institution of marriage if it works for you and your partner. I am obviously married, but I do think it comes with a risk. I have taken more hits to my career and to my mental health becoming a parent and a wife than I believe my partner has. And that's not his fault, but I think that is societal. It is, our world is built for and about and in support of men. And marriage is a part of that.
Marriage is a safety net for men? Let's break that down. The modern narrative says men benefit, women risk. But here's what they don't mention. The average man isn't walking into marriage with power. He's walking in with responsibility. He's expected to provide, protect, and perform. While being told that his partner owes him nothing in return, she can leave, take the kids, take half his assets, and society will call it empowerment. And yet, he's the one with the safety net. He works long hours, loses sleep, builds a legacy, only to be told he's oppressive by default. He's not asking for a servant, he's asking for a partner. But modern marriage isn't a partnership. It's a contract with fine print, where the cost is his mental health, his financial freedom, and often his peace. They say women leave the workforce. Many men never had the luxury to leave it. They say women carry the emotional load. Men are shamed for even having emotions, and the stats they love to quote. Married men live longer? That's not happiness. That's endurance. She says women live shorter lives in marriage, but maybe that's not about men. Maybe it's about the kind of marriages society has built. She admits her own marriage is unequal, not because her husband is cruel, but because society is structured unfairly. Let's be real. The system doesn't serve either of them. But one of them is still expected to kneel and say thank you. Marriage isn't dead, but traditional roles are, and men are starting to ask, if I lose either way, Why play the game? They're not avoiding marriage because they hate women. They're avoiding marriage because they see the cost. It's not bitterness. It's self-preservation. And for once, they're choosing themselves.
Ladies, if a man gives you a ring and proposes marriage to you, it's because he's done playing the field, he's done trying to get all the ladies, he's maybe balding a little bit, he can't get the ladies anymore, so now he has to settle down. And settling down means finding somebody who's available that likes him enough to put up with his shit, and then he makes you feel special with a ring. He just needs access to a woman's body for the rest of his life. He can't go out and play the field and get the women he used to. So now he'll get married, because marriage is making sure you have it, because it's getting a little scary out there when I can't pick up these ladies, so I better settle down and get married. Marriage for a man is just maintaining access to a lady's body. It's making sure they always have access to that, because they need it. Because they will go crazy without access to a lady's body. They're extremely borny. All the way up until the day they die. Just borny, borny, borny. So marriage is to make sure that you stay and sleep in his bed, and he always has access to a lady's body. He's done trying to find, like, what kind of hot lady I can get. That was cool. Now what other kind of hot lady I can get? He can't get the hot women anymore, so he's settling down and getting married to you. It's not an honor. It's not an accomplishment. You're literally just a free Bex worker when you get married.
So let me get this straight. A man proposes, and suddenly it's not love, not commitment, it's desperation. He's done playing the field, not because he's ready to build something real, but because he's balding. Interesting. This worldview reduces marriage to nothing more than sexual access, not partnership, not shared goals, not building a future, just biology framed as pathology. But here's what they're really saying. If a man values loyalty, he's settling. If he chooses you, it's because he had no other options, and if he desires intimacy within a committed bond, he's borny. Tell me again who's objectifying who. You claim marriage is a scam for women, then turn around and say men only marry because they can't get hotter women anymore. If that's the case, who's truly chasing youth and vanity? Men don't marry because they're out of options. They marry when they want legacy, stability, and loyalty. Things hookup culture will never provide. And as for the idea that he's using you for your body, funny, when divorce hits, he loses half his assets, his kids, and sometimes even his home. That's a steep price for so-called access. But you're right about one thing. It's not an accomplishment. Not if it's built on resentment, manipulation, and the belief that men are monsters in disguise. If that's what modern love looks like, maybe it's not men who are afraid of commitment. Maybe they're just waking up and choosing freedom instead.
I've got a new question for you guys. Why do you think guys no longer want to get married? Here's what I think. I think MGTOW men have allowed themselves to be influenced by social media into believing that all women are feminists or feminazis. But in real life, you can tell people what you're looking for and what it is that you want. There are women out there that are looking for something that could be very much alike to what you're looking for. Maybe you've been hanging out with shallow or greedy people, and well, maybe that's on you and what you've been putting out there. But I think women don't reflect what the media says about them. And neither should you. Now, what's your opinion?
The classic maybe it's your fault argument. Let's unpack that. You say men have been influenced by social media into thinking most women are feminists or feminazis. But here's the problem. Men didn't form these views from memes. They formed them from experience, divorce courts, paternity fraud, alimony. False accusations to man up and provide rhetoric. With none of the appreciation that used to come with it, you say, maybe you're just hanging out with the wrong people. But when the wrong people become the norm, what's a man supposed to do? Go on a scavenger hunt for the last woman who values reciprocity. You tell men, just be clear about what you want. Okay? They were told it's controlling, insecure, or toxic masculinity. You say real life isn't like the media? But who's shaping culture? Who's celebrating divorce parties, pushing single is better, and mocking men for having standards? Reality is starting to resemble the media, because one reflects the other. And when men opt out, you don't ask why, you just tell them to try harder, to do better, to pick better. But what if the system is the problem? What if men are simply saying, I refuse to play a rigged game? So you ask, Why don't men want to get married anymore? Simple. They've seen the cost. They've heard the laughter when they cry. They've watched their fathers get drained in courtrooms, and they've decided silence, peace, and freedom are better than applause for a role they no longer want to play. If this message made sense to you, like the video. Subscribe for more unfiltered logic. Emotions fade. Algorithms don't. Let them know you're still thinking.